Hey there, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again for another episode of Meditation Millionaire. And today's guest is probably my most favorite guest I've had up until now because I love Gary so much. I saw him many years ago in Toronto, which is where I'm from, and he was a speaker at an event. And I was like this. I couldn't believe everything he said. I loved and everything.
You are too kind.
Resonated, and I could hardly wait. And I went up to when he came down off of stage to talk to us because he's so cool that way. I was like, oh my God, I need a picture. And then many years later, my coach actually introduced me to him again. And I go, oh my God, he's the guy that I love his book. Oh, don't rent space in other people's.
Gary, rent space in your head.
Thank you. So anyways, I am no longer going to speak. I'm going to let you listen to Gary because he is fantastic. So I'm going to stay quiet now and let Gary tell you about himself. Go for it, Gary.
Oh, not that part. Did I really need to know about myself? Anyway, no, thank you for this time and spending some time with you here. One of the things I love to help people with is being able to get past their past, because hopefully everybody, that's watching this has dreams, they have goals, but when we try to attain those goals, it's so easy to write down, $1 million salary, better relationship, better health, all these different things. But why is it often that we know what we need to do, but we can't get ourselves to many times do it? I mean, everybody knows what they need to do to lose more weight, right? Lose more calories than you take in. Everybody knows what it takes to make more money. It's often, spend a lot less than you make. I mean, these are basic, simple things, but sometimes the basic, simple things are some of the things that have to be done, but we're just not getting them. And there's a number of reasons for this on a psychological level. But one of the biggest reasons is because we have things renting space in our head from our past. And many times they create patterns for us that inhibit or prevent us from having more success. But yet, on the other hand, sometimes our past keep us from having good lifestyles in some areas, but could propel us to be very successful financially, but have crappy relationships, or be successful financially while we're doing cocaine or drugs or whatever. So my job is to help people try to identify quickly. I have a claim, and I don't say this arrogantly, that I do in 1 hour what therapists or business consultants can't do in a year, because I've been through so much. And when I have gone through so much, I use what I've been through to kind of help relate my story, my challenge, my quantum leaps to somebody who comes to me for help. And when I think about a quantum leap is basically moving before you're ready. And that's a mindset. A lot of people, I see people, they're working for months and years trying to get their website ready to do this and do that. That's not a quantum leap. A quantum leap is making a decision now, knowing for a fact that you're not ready. And when we have a quantum leap in our lives, and we create a pattern, an attitude for that, and that's an attitude that I have programmed and instilled in me. So it's something that we can learn to do. And the reasons that we don't do it many times is we overthink, we overanalyze, it's the what ifs. And I've learned to make a commitment and figure it out later, knowing that when I make a commitment, make a move, do every move I make gets me great results? That's virtually impossible. So common sense tells me if I make a move out of a certain amount of moves, they're going to be bad moves. And I'm going to learn from that and make some changes. And just real quickly, my story was very successful when I was a teenager. I was doing $100,000 a year. I got married. My wife and we had a baby. That changed things. And my wife tells me my baby isn't mine. So now all of a sudden the trauma starts coming in. My father was murdered. Grandfather and stepfather died of cancer. Uncle killed in a plane crash. Had $100,000 a year business, boom, lost all that. I was born and raised in a cult, and then I chose to leave that. And when you leave that, all your so-called friends and family in that will shun you for life. So you got a lot of stuff going on, and I've got a lot of stuff going on. And if we don't learn how to manage that, it's really going to inhibit our ability. So I've been able to learn to manage that to a point that I, as Marianne alluded to, I speak all over the world. I have books. I'm blessed. I'm an aviation nut. I fly helicopters and airplanes and jets and all that good stuff. So I've been able to really work hard to get that stuff behind me, and at least, if anything, manipulate and or control it.
See what I mean? When I heard this story and he was up on stage, I was like, it's hard to shut me up because I'm a talker, obviously, hence the reason for the show. And I was like, what?
Crazy stuff.
And then it was just like, oh my gosh. And I even used this quote. I can't believe I messed it up. Don't let other people rent space in your head. And it was just absolutely amazing. So Gary is an amazing speaker. Gary, can you tell us about what you do with the Bahamas?
Yeah, we have a really cool mastermind where I take people in the jet and I fly them from Central Florida. Probably right around now, if it's really cold while you're watching this, your ears might perk up. But we have a one-day mastermind where I help people get to that next level, make that quantum leap. Number one, many times it's the quantum leap to make the decision to come with me, right? That's one. And then give them strategies to get them to have some more quantum leaps. And I also have an online live class I do once a month. It's basically designed for speakers, coaches, consultants, doctors, lawyers. I show them how to take 1 year's worth of salary and condense it down to literally one event or one day. And again, a lot of times when we think about how is that even possible, it's in our mind that it may not be possible because we're not exposed to things like that. So that's why proximity is power. That's why your network is your net worth. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and it was quite interesting. And he's learning to fly a helicopter, so I'm giving him some instructions and lessons along with some other guys. But he talked to me about how he let somebody use his helicopter to fly to a neighboring airport. And the person who used the helicopter, they took somebody with me to look at an airplane, and they cut a $3.2 million check. And he was like, oh my God, that's just fascinating to me. And I'm thinking, okay, he's not used to being in a network like that. The network I'm in, they strike $50 million checks or $100 million checks for things. So the point here is you want to get to the point that you're constantly leveling up and putting yourself in the proximity of more power, because what's going to happen is you're going to start thinking that what you thought now was like really normal, and then when you get to the next level, it's like, oh my gosh, this is like crazy, and then that becomes normal. Then you get to the next level and you go, oh my gosh, that's crazy, then that becomes normal, and so on. And then that's how we grow.
Oops, I muted my own self.
There you go.
It's so true. And it's so important who you surround yourself with, right? Because then it becomes this, like you said, 50,000, it's like no big deal. You almost expect
100%.
The 3 point this and 2 point that and 3 mil and 10, it's like no big deal.
It's funny, this morning we have, I was on with one of my team members, and for us, this is so normal. So I'm telling her, I say, okay, well, in Tampa, because she's learning this end of the business with regards to some of the stuff that we're doing. So I said, okay, why don't you listen in? So I'm calling this airport and saying, hey, I need to bring in the helicopter. And then she's figuring out who we're going to bring and take in. So our conversations are, well, what time do we need the jet over here? When should we bring the helicopter? I'm going to fly. And these are normal conversations. And when people listen in on that, after the conversations are done, they'll often say, do you realize your conversations? And for us, it's no. Oh, the helicopter thing. It's a normal conversation for us. At what time we're going to have the helicopter ready, right? And but you get there in time. It's like, you look at somebody who's built a lot of muscles. If you want to build a lot of muscles and you don't have a lot of muscle, well, they didn't just go to the gym yesterday and build a muscle. They've been doing this for years. So what you have to be careful of is you want to be careful that you don't compare yourself. It's easy to do, right? Because everybody's at a different chapter. There's people that are way wealthier than me. There's people that are way poorer than me. There are people that are way wealthier than you, and so on and so on. But that proximity is so important, because many times, I may not have a specific strategy for you, but just being with me, I may be able to help you see your treasure brighter than you've ever seen it before. That right there is worth more than gold, because now that creates a stronger belief in what you're capable of doing, and that increases your desire to take the necessary action steps consistently and massively to get results faster.
It's so true. It's so true. And sometimes just because you're in a place, just because you're at the seminar, just because, and I've taken Gary's online seminars, they're actually very good. So I highly recommend them. I could listen to Gary talk. He could say the exact same thing every single time, and it would be something different. I would see it.
Am I supposed to send you a check for saying those nice things? Yes. You're too kind.
Yes, he's paying me later. Anyways. No, but it's true though. You are a really great speaker, which is why you get to travel the world and do this. But actually, it's on my not even on my bucket list. It's on my goal list to do the Bahamas thing with you, because I know my coach did it, and I really, really, really want to do it. I want to.
Yeah, it's a game changer. There's no question about it. It's not about the jet and the Rolls Royces and all these things, but here's what happens when you do something like this. Something that goes off like instantly without you consciously doing it. And what happens is, when I'm a big believer in see, feel, touch, smell, taste. So when you feel it, yes, can you imagine what it's like to fly privately in your own airplane or jet or helicopter? But have you touched the leather? Have you smelt it? Have you smelt the fuel? Have you started it? And every time I push that button, and I don't say this to impress you, it impresses me that I've been through so much, and I'm push that button, start that helicopter, start jet, and I go, oh my gosh, look where I've been to where I'm at now. And what it does is it helps you realize that, you know what? You're not playing big enough. Now, it doesn't mean you have to work harder or longer. You just have to work smarter. So what it does, it causes you to move the chess pieces in your chess game differently. So I think about, okay, I just started the jet. How can I start it more often? How can I start it in a bigger one if I wanted a bigger one? All these things start going through your mind. And then when you're done with all the experiences, you come back and now you start putting the work in. And sometimes it's not a hard job. For example, if you're mowing the lawn, I'm originally from Jamaica, believe it or not, but back then in Jamaica, we didn't have a lawnmower with a gas engine. We had these things with they're like turned blades, and you push and the blades go in the grass and they cut the grass, right? Well, I'm working hard. What if somebody says, wait a minute, how about we put an engine to this? Nothing different. We just put an engine to it. And then, how about this? How about we make it remote control where you can sit down on your lawn chair and just do this? And we got vacuum cleaners that do that too. So I believe whatever it is that you're doing, whatever track you're on, I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, there are some strategies that I knew if you implemented, you'd be able to do the same amount of work, but you would get a lot more return. And I'm obsessed with that for myself, because I'm always thinking, okay, well, if that's true for you, why would it not be true for me? Mm-hmm. So I'm always thinking, okay, what is that next strategy? What am I missing? What can I do smarter? And, for example, one of the things I teach authors, speakers, and coaches, it's smarter to do one presentation in front of 1 million people as opposed to one presentation in front of 100 people. And that's why for decades I've been getting on national TV, and I show people how to get on national TV, because it's one presentation that you're now reaching hundreds of thousands of people as opposed to one presentation in front of 50 people. What's smarter? Same amount of work, but a lot more money. I've got a friend of mine that he got on Shark Tank, and he did in 1 week 10 times more in that 1 week than he did in 18 months. He did one thing different. That's it. So if you go through a lot of the things in your business that you realize that what you're doing is there a smarter way to do things, and you have a consultant showing you how to do that, then you'll be able to figure out, okay, I'll make this move now, and then this move, and then you become obsessed with these moves and finding out what these moves are. And I'm blessed. That's why people pay me what they pay me, to help them figure out those moves, because I've done over I don't know, 3,000 to 5,000 presentations. I've been blessed to work with billion-dollar companies, and they think they're learning from me. But what do you think I'm doing? I'm picking their brain too. So I got 3,000 to 5,000 CEOs and managers that I'm learning from. That I'm able to take that knowledge, which I'm obsessed with. That's why I read 2 to 4 books a month. Then when you become more valuable, or to become more valuable, it entails having a lot of knowledge, which creates skills, and knowledge is only power if you use it. That's the key. So reading, going to seminars, great, but if you use it and implement, that's where you'll get the results.
And Gary, just for the record, because I'm continuously talking about this with my coaching clients, when does learning stop for us?
Yeah, and the sad thing is a lot of people, I mean, I know people that just go through life. They just do their job. I even know people that are doing their own business, and they're just doing life. And if you get committed, I mean, truly committed to, okay, I'm going to read, and remember, what gets hot quick often gets cold quick. So if you're not used to reading 4 books a month, just don't wake up one morning, I'm going to read 4 books a month, because it'll probably last for a month, if that. But hey, just do 5 pages a day or 1 page a day. Get the routine going. And when you start creating these routines and these patterns, that's where you get, great wealth. And not to change the subject, but, talking about routines, people come up with all these things. You got to wake up at 4 a.m. You got to do cold plunging. You got to read. You got to meditate. Look, I do cold plunging. I wake up at 4 a.m. But at what time you wake up has nothing to do with your success. It's how much time you put in. I was very blessed to be mentored by a billionaire mentor. He does not wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. He has his last meal usually at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and he woke up at, 8, 9 o'clock, but he went in from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night. So it has nothing to do with what time you wake up. It's the time you put in. I do jot my goals down. I'm a regular this morning I wrote all this down. So that just keeps me focused. But I don't wake up at a specific time and, okay, I got to meditate for 1 hour. Now I got to do this. Look, I just do the action, man. Just do the work. Just put it in. Show up and do it.
Yeah, just start. Stop talking about it, right? And just start doing it, and stop this and that. And no, and then pet peeve for me is, oh, well, yeah, I've already learned that. Okay, well, I've learned many things over and over again. I like it each time. It goes deeper each time.
Sure.
And just I don't know, like, I like hearing it.
Well, you can't watch your favorite movie and remember everything the first time, because you're going to watch a movie the 3rd time, 4th time, and there's going to be things that you didn't even realize, or if you did, you forgot. So who of us can use reminders? I mean, I've got books that I'll read a book and I'll take all the cliff notes of that book and I use them as reminders. And then I'll pick a couple, 5 top books that I really like. And then maybe I'm going to go away for a couple days, and I'll take those books and just breathe through them again, because it's virtually impossible for me to remember all that. And that's how you're really feeding your mind. And not only are you getting proximity as power with humans like you and I are doing today, but it doesn't limit itself to reading books or watching videos or doing online programs, right? Yeah,
no, it's perfect. I think learning it's one of my favorite things. I think if I could be a professional student, I'd be
right?
a quadrillionaire.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I get that.
I love traveling the world and learning. It's amazing. I just came back from Dubai, and oh my gosh, what a trip. Whew.
Good for you.
It's amazing always. I want to know what your definition of success is, because I know yours is going to be unique.
Yeah, I guess the way I answer that, if you notice in a lot of my videos or pictures, especially even in the jet, you'll see me fly the jet with flip-flops. I'm in flip-flops all the time. Now, what does that have to do with success? The reason I'm with flip-flops all the time is my favorite word, and it almost makes me cry literally, is freedom. So I was born and raised in a cult all my adult life. I left a little under 20 years ago. And when you leave that cult, like I mentioned earlier, your so-called friends and family will shun you for life. I mean, while I was in that cult, I literally read 4 books in my entire life. And I was still in this business, and people were wondering, well, you must read a lot of books, No, because I was pretty much like forced to read their propaganda. And I used to think, well, why don't I not like reading? Because I have to be forced to read something I don't want to read. So then I left, and now I have so much freedom. I'm able to do things that I could never do. And I mean, everything, just little, like these colors, these are the Jamaican colors. So I have these Jamaican colors on my wrist. I was never, ever, 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 ever able to do something like that without, well, I just couldn't do it. But anyway, so freedom. So what is freedom? That's my definition of success. And that's, for me, it's financial freedom. It's freedom to be able to think and do what I want when I want. But ultimately, my word is freedom. That's success to me. Freedom, freedom, freedom. So I'm always doing things to create more freedom for my time, to own my time as much as I can. One thing that I've learned in the things that I've been through is that I will pay for extra time. And I encourage you to do that, because there's nothing like having to own your own time. And one of the reasons, some people will say to me, well, Gary, flying an airplane, that's $2,000, $3,000 an hour, helicopters, $600,000, $500,000 an hour, whatever. But when you get to the level, and you should work that way, that should be one of your goals, is to get to the point where your time becomes that valuable that it's worth it for you to spend $3,000 an hour or $500 an hour to get somewhere faster, because you value your time so much. And I'm always looking for ways to create more freedom. Emotional freedom. Think about what emotional freedom is. Stop and think about the things that hopefully that you're aware of, because you can't change what you don't acknowledge. So you want to be aware and acknowledge, do you have some things in your past that may cause you to circumnavigate for more success? I do, and I know what they are. I'm consciously aware of them, and I know when I start making a decision based on emotions or feelings of my past, I am so aware of that. So much so that I catch myself, okay, the decision I'm making here, that includes firing people, because in the cult I was in, it was so easy. We're so programmed that you could dismiss somebody who had been your friend for 30 years. So I have to be careful not to quickly want to dismiss somebody, and I'm aware of that, and I have to make some adjustments based on that for me to have more success. So think about, where in your life could you create more freedom? And when you have emotional freedom, oh my goodness, you can move a lot faster. It's like you've got the wheel oiled. When the wheel's not oiled, you've got some sand in there, you got some grit in there. It's not going to move as smooth as it should, and you're going to make the same movement. But if you have emotional freedom, it's going to be a lot easier and a lot faster.
I love that word too. I love freedom. I actually worked at a store when I did retail. Oh my gosh, remember retail?
Yeah, right. What is that?
Retail is tough. Retail is a lot of working on your feet and not usually very great pay, but
No.
it's a store called Freedom. And then I went to Europe for a year when I went to school. I went to university for a year, and then I ended up staying there for 12 years. I got married and whatever. So I had my own store, and I called it Freedom.
Oh, wow. I love it. That's awesome. Good for you. Good for you.
I love that you wear or you can go barefoot if you really want to, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wear regular shoes maybe, oh my gosh, 10 hours out of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, when you speak on stage, right?
That's about it. That's about it. And one insurance company claims I can't wear flip-flops flying the helicopter, so I got to play with that game. Whatever. Yeah,
I know. We can't wear flip-flops, apparently, when we drive here either, but I do it all the time in the summertime. Okay, don't come after me. Yeah, I guess when you come to a cold country, so... Yeah, can I just remind everyone, he does this really awesome thing in the Bahamas for all my Canadians that are freezing right now here with me.
Right.
It's like an exceptionally cold day. Yeah, no, that's great. Gary, if you had a chance to go backwards in time, what would you say to your 18-year-old self?
Regarding what area of life?
Regarding anything. Just your choice of
that
you want to tell them.
Be like a stamp, stick with one thing, which I do pretty well at. I would stay there. Another thing I think would be to collaborate more. See, a lot of things that I have not done is because of the cult I was in. So since I broke from that, I'm able to do things differently. I think that would be it. I would have invested sooner and a lot more, and I would have probably, as much as I hate to admit it, I would slow down to the point of being a lot kinder to people. Sometimes when you're so focused, quote unquote, people get in your way. And I think sometimes I could have dealt with people differently because they're quote unquote in my way. That's only because I was so focused, but there's also ways to be focused and not look at it that way. So those would probably be some of the things, because I'm finding myself, and I give more. I would give a lot more earlier than I started. I think that's really, really important. And give when you don't have, because if you give when you don't have, you're going to give so much more. Again, it's creating that pattern of giving. So that's something I do very regularly.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do when you have no money, or when you're short on cash, or it's been a rough year or whatever. The best thing to do is to give, right? And then that's how you receive the most.
It changes your perspective.
I have one more question for you before we end, because we're getting on with time here. If you could have an hour with any 5 people in the world, or one, whatever you want, they could be dead or alive, it doesn't matter who they are, and you have an hour to spend and have coffee with them, who would they be?
Jesus, for sure. Maybe an Albert Einstein. I don't know. I have to think more on those other 3 people. I'm not a big history buff. Not that you need to be a history buff to answer your question, but it would be like, and I'm going to change the track on this a little bit. Some people think that they want to maybe meet Warren Buffett. I would have no problems chatting with him. But understand that people, when we see somebody who's more successful than we are on any area of life, we think by being with them, we will gain their success. But we were just talking about this today, and somebody in my team. If I go to the gym and I see somebody that has massive biceps, it's my tendency to want to go to that person and say, "What's the exercise do you do for your bicep?" And he tells you. But what he didn't tell you, he's on steroids, and he comes in and does it 7 days a week. So I'm very cautious about that. So I caution people to be careful as to who they pick for their gurus, right? But I think those may be the 2 biggest people. Yeah, would I enjoy Warren Buffett? Exactly. Charlie Munger, who was his partner, who passed away recently, would be interesting. Maybe a first president or something like that. George Washington, something like that. Yeah, that one maybe. I think did I do 4 or was that 5? I don't know.
No, that's 5. I think that's 5-ish. Yeah, no, that's good. I like. I think you talked about Jim Rohn in one of your sessions. I love Jim Rohn.
Jim, yeah, I actually had the opportunity. We were to be at a seminar together in Tampa, and he was in Chicago, and there was no airplanes or air commercial flights to get him from Chicago to the next day for the event in Tampa. So I got to fly up to Chicago and pick him up. Great guy, and I'll share with you a little something that I asked him. I said, so, because Tony Robbins learned under Jim Rohn, and I said, so what makes Tony different than a lot of the people that worked with you? And he said, he's got the guts of a burglar. So I actually have wristbands that say, have the guts of a burglar. And in one of my books, I talk about having the guts of a burglar. And the experience that he was sharing with me, Jim, was how you have to just, think about the mindset of a burglar. They do not what? They don't care. They don't care about the consequences. They focus on the now. Not that you shouldn't focus on your consequences, but it's the mindset that, well, you know what? I'm going to go back in again, and I'm going to ask that person again. I'm going to knock on that door again, even though they said no. Oh, this door is locked. Well, I'm going to try the vice president. Well, if the vice president says no, what about the president? What about the president's secretary? It's a heck of a mindset, and I thought that was quite interesting. Not to change the subject on you there.
No, that's perfect. Actually, as you're talking, I'm now looking. I'm like, I'm going to take myself off camera, and then I thought, who cares? Relentless persistence. I love that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I tell you what, if you spend a lot of time with me, you will find that I am one of the most relentless, persistent people you ever met. Talk about. I remember when I got on Inside Edition, the TV show Inside Edition. I beat on those people's door for 5 years, and I am not exaggerating. 5 years. 5 years. I will follow you home. I will come through your chimney. I will do whatever it takes, and you should too.
I love it. I love it. I know. I'm just because these names will just come to me, and I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is a perfect name for a summit, which Gary's gonna be on one of my summits, or maybe many, or all. Who knows? Summits, books. I always and you're talking, and I'm going. Relentless persistence is a perfect name.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna do it. Excellent. Well, I think we should do this again, Gary. What do you think?
I'm open for it, just schedule permitting. You know my crazy life.
Yeah, here's crazy schedule.
And hey, you know what's cool? If you'd come with me into the Bahamas thing, we do cockpit conversations that we put on YouTube. So depending on which program, I put the, like say if it was you, I have one coming up in, I guess next month. You come in the cockpit with me in the co-pilot seat, and then I actually interview you while we're flying at X amount of thousands of feet. And I put that on YouTube. So that's kind of fun.
Oh, that's amazing. Awesome. And you know what? This has been so much fun, and I've been looking forward to this ever since the day you agreed.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Ditto.
Gary, yay.
And I know I had to turn you down 6 months ago because things were totally different. So, yeah, it worked out. Appreciate your patience and your resilience and your persistence, right?
My what did I say it was? Relentless persistence. I am actually I sell a line of supplements, and I just won an award for being the #1 recruiter in all of Canada, and
nice.
I was number 2 in all of North America and South America, like this side of the world.
Wow.
And the lady above said, she goes, man, she goes, if nothing, she goes, you don't care. I really don't. I've learned.
Guts of a burglar, right?
A no is a no for right now. We'll talk to you later.
Yep.
We'll move on. There's no need to take anything personally.
Yep.
It's just move on to the next one, and don't hold on to anything. And the better off you'll be. That's just
don't get attached to the outcome. Do not get attached to the outcome.
And the outcome has nothing to do with you. It's their story. You're doing everything right, because if you're doing the same thing with one person and you're doing the same thing with another person and the same with the other one, it's not you. It's
exactly.
It's this. So let it fall where it may. Eventually, it'll work itself out. So, but for right now, we are going to say goodbye. Gary, I just want to point out that Gary's website is scrolling on here, so it's GaryCoxe.com. And
don't forget the E at the end, COXE. And thank you for sharing that.
Yes. Thank you for coming on to the show. Thank you so much. We are now just going to play one of my sponsors' commercial. And thank you so much, Gary. If you want to stay with me, that'd be great.
Thank you. We'll see you. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Namaste.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JASCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.